Shalom, everybody. Today we're going to talk about the so-called West Bank, located in Judea Samaria, and its importance in the redemption plan, what it has to do with the name of Yeshua, and why it's important for us those days, especially at these very end time days that we live in, to be sure that we get really close and we stick to faith and to the plan that God has planned since the beginning. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is my screen here, and I will go okay, like this. Just 1 second, let me share. Okay, here we are. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Yesha, Yosh, Judea Samaria, Yeshua. This is the Hebrew name, in Hebrew, the name of Yeshua. So Yesha and Yosh are the names of the regional council. I will explain to you, but keep in mind that you have Yesha, Yosh, Yeshua, which sounds very similar. So first of all, I want to introduce our village. This is our village here, Aramasa, that is named after one of the general of King David, because we are located in the southern Hebron hills that were the kingdom of Judah. So King David even used to come this way, because if you look at the map here, you see that this is what we call Judea Samaria, or the West Bank, okay? And this is here Susia. So we just finished a movie on Susia that I really highly recommend you to watch, and it's in the course, the Biblical Archaeology. You will really enjoy it because it also talks about the Lord. And we are right here, Aramasa, you see? So we are located at the very southern tip of the Judean and Samaria hills. This is Jerusalem. This is Hebron. You see Hebron, Jerusalem. A little bit up, you have Shechem. And on the west side, this is what we call here the Philistine land, the land of the Philistines. Judea, Samaria, and Gaza are the so-called territories since the Oslo Agreement. On the east side, this is Jordan Valley, okay, and the Dead Sea. And this is the Negev, Beersheba. So you see that the road of the Patriarchs, we're going from here and going up using this road, which is Road 60, going up to Jerusalem, up to the north, at the very heart of the Israel country. This is like, you know, those mountains are the very heart. And they are not only the very heart physically, geographic, but they're also the heart biblically, archaeology. When the Hebrews crossed from Egypt from here, they crossed and they went after from this place here. They crossed from Jericho, here, Jericho. They ascended the hills, the eastern part. They saw the Philistines that were ruling there, and they settled in Judea, Samaria. Okay, so this is where you find the most ancient traces of Israelite histories. The tribes came there, that settled there. Then slowly they fought back the Philistines, and they settled here in what we call the Shfela. This is the Lao land, and finally they ruled here. So this is Gaza. Okay, Gaza and Judea Samaria are the so-called territory. This is our village from view from south. So you see we are you see the mountain here. This is Yatir, going all the way to Jerusalem. This is north. Now there's no more trees because this is the part where we're going to live, hopefully in a year and a half, 2 years maximum, and or the new area is being built. So this is our family, we're part of it. We are 1, 2, now the third one is born. So we have 3 grandchildren, and our boys, and so our son-in-law and Sarah, our daughter, that now those 2 ones live with us also. So we're just prospering as it's written in the text, the biblical text, and the promises that you will inhabit the biblical hills of Judea Samaria. And this is what's happening. We are a living testimony of this. So now this is what we are talking about. I told you that there was this Israelite presence in the Judea Samaria. And how do we know? Because at the time they didn't really have any buildings or something. Archaeology, we're talking about 2,000 years and 500 years ago. And so we found specifically for 600 years a type of houses that is called the Israelite House. This is what we gave this name to our blog, where you can find our vision and follow the works. And this was the kind of houses, because at the time, the Canaanites, they used to have online, lining up rooms with no privacy, intimacy, and you would enter one room to another. With the Israelite, we start to see those, what we call the 4-room houses, which in fact was 4-room, 3 rooms, 6 rooms, depending, growing up with the families. And this was like a little farms, inside you would have these broad rooms, and then 3 main area where there would be the animals, there will be the family, and so and so. For 600 years, until the destruction of the first temple, this kind of houses appear in the Judea Samaria area, along with the tribes. And we are planning to reproduce one of them. For instance, if you visit the city of David, which is Jerusalem, this is the kind of 4-room houses also. You see, you have the broad rear room, and then you have those pillars. There was a first story, you see here the stairs. And this was a kind of house, of course, smaller in the cities, like the city of David, and much bigger in the countryside. So this is typically Israelite, first temple period. Now, let's go and start a little bit about politics. So we have those 2,000 years of exile. The Jews are wandering all over Europe, being cast there, being persecuted, being destroyed. Then you finally arrive to the Shoah and the Holocaust and everything that happened. And slowly, starting from the beginning of the 20th century, even the beginning of it, Jews, we're talking now about Jews, because the Israelites, they were scattered away in the 8th century BC already by the Assyrians to exile, where they didn't come back. And we have Judah coming back after the first temple destruction, staying 70 years in Babylon, then coming back. And now we're talking about Judah, because they can prove their ancestry. So Jews are coming back, and they are settling in this area mainly. Okay, and they're trying to cultivate, and there is malaria, there are pioneers, there are a lot of things, but the first chief rabbi of Israel, first Jaffa and then Israel, the Rav Kook, prophesies, and he says that when he sees that the Jews are coming back to cultivate the land, it's the end of the Galut, meaning it is time to come back home. And he starts to warn up, and he's just at the time of the First World War. And he's starting to warn and to tell people to come back home, to take the Jews, it's time to go back home because the land is bearing fruits again, like in the prophecies. Jews won't listen. It would lead to the Second World War and to the Holocaust. Coming out of the ashes, there is the Jews, and the Jews are coming back, and the English, they received this British mandate to rule this Palestine in order to give both the Jews and the Arabs a land, something. So first of all, we have the Balfour Declaration that says that now the British Crown seized with the favor, how do you say, with favor that the Jews would have a national house, national home. So it's the start of giving birth to the state of Israel, but not yet. They come out with the partition plan in November 1947, 29 November 1947, after the war. And they come with this plan, which is called the partition plan, which would give the Arabs all this area, which is Judea Samaria, north here in Galilee, and then the Gaza Strip and a little bit a part of Negev. And the Jews would receive a much less interesting area full of malaria and all things, but nevertheless land, all the coast in blue. Then here there is this strange little passage between two Arab area by Ashdod somewhere. And then all the Negev, there was nothing, not even water, and the part of Tiberias around the Kinneret Lake. And Jerusalem would stay as corpus separatum, which is an area that is independent and it doesn't belong to anyone. So that was the partition plan. The Jews just exulted of joy. They say, we want it, yes, yes, yes. But the Arabs refused it. So this is a very important thing. The partition plan that would give them officially a land, they refused it. And as we say, Arabs never miss an opportunity to miss something. They refused their right to get this land given by the United Nations of the time. So this is very important because today there are some claims and they are still claiming that this belonged to them. And they say you have to give them back to us because we conquered it during the 6 Days War. But it's not true because they refused it. Okay, so this is something if people are asking you, telling you, tell them they refuse this. They have no right about it. So what happened? So this is the pre-67 borders. So the next, when there was the partition plan, you know, there was still the battle and the civil war started between the Jews and the Arabs on the roads, to conquer Jerusalem. There was the civil war that started. And Ben Gurion just saw the wind, he felt the wind going this direction, and he realized that the English, they would leave the country without solving the problem and give the weapons to the Arabs. So he make it happen that in May 1948, the declaration of the state of Israel, and he declares the independency and the creation of the state of Israel. Israel is born again, fulfilling the prophecy of Isaiah 66. Can a nation be born in one day? Yes, it was born. The next day, the international war started, which 5 countries, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, Iraq, attacked the young state. Okay, just created state that they had 5 planes or even 4 planes, just incredible. So the war started international. So first part of the war after the partition plan, November 47, it started the civil war, and then May 48, it started the international war with the neighbors. Israel won. Okay, it won the war, but it lost. It lost. They didn't even bother to secure the Judea Samaria because the Jordanians invaded, they crossed the Jordan River, and they invaded the West Bank. It was not called the West Bank. They invaded Judea Samaria and they invaded Jerusalem East up to the Mount of Olives and up to the Kotel and to the Old City. And for 19 years, Jordanians invaded and stayed in Judea Samaria, in Jerusalem, and in Latrun, somewhere here also, okay? So the real settlers were not the Jews, they're the Jordanians who had received already the country after the First World War by the British and the king. They created the new kingdom. But they didn't have anything to do with Israel, but they nevertheless invaded Israel for 19 years. This is all the story of the Mount of Olives, where they decided to put like gas station among all the tombs of Mount of Olives that destroyed everything. I mean, big story for them between those 19 years. And suddenly, 1967, the 6 Days War, and this is like the window of redemption. Israel heard that Egypt was going to attack again. They attacked the first, and they conquered back the Golan, and then all this area, Jerusalem, the Kotel, the Temple Mount, and all Judea Samaria. They get it back. They got it back. So that was a plan of God, first of all. To get back is, and we will be reading the verses later, is hills. This is the heart of Israel. You see, it's relocated. But meanwhile, before the 67, we had this Jordanian controlled area in red, Egyptian controlled here, and Syrian controlled by Golan. You see? So this, we were in bad state because all these, we were there, but there were enemies everywhere. The Syrians would fire from the Golan to the Sea of Galilee on the fishermen. Here, it was impossible. There was a lot of riots and a lot of problem with the Jews, murders and everything, and the Egyptian there. After the 6 days, we got it back, okay? But we didn't annex it. It stayed under military jurisdiction. So years passed. The problem was always hard and difficult, and what has become at the time a wonderful opportunity to get back the heart of the land, it started to fade because of the pressure, international pressure, because of the Arab pressure and everything. So if you looked at the center of here, this is the center, we don't see the mountains anymore, but you see this is the heart, okay? What do we have there? Look at what we have. First of all, we have Beersheba, it's here, okay, it was in Israeli territory, but Hebron, the Patriarch city. Then Bethlehem, which is the city where Jesus was born. Jerusalem, the city of the great king. Jericho, where the biblical story happened. Shiloh, where the tabernacle stood for 360 years. Bethel, where Jacob had his vision, and Shechem, where Joseph is buried. Everything, all those has been lost after the Oslo Agreements in the 90s. So we have first 48, we lose Judea Samaria, then you have the international war. 67, we get it back. Then 1903, 94, we lose because of those Oslo Agreements that are going to split and this area, the biblical heart of Israel, in different zones. That is going to lead to a lot of bloodshed. And we lost all those biblical cities. Okay, so let's see. Now, Oslo Agreement, what happened? Judea, Samaria, you see this green line? This is what we call the green line, because at the time in 48, it was drawn by a thick green pen. This is what it's called today, still the green line. And because it was thick, there's still problems to what it belongs in this thickness of this pen. There are some areas that you don't know where they belong to, how silly it is. So the Oslo Agreement happened in the 90s with Shimon Peres and Clinton and a lot of those people who decided to split and to share this area called the West Bank. So what did they did? First of all, the Gaza Strip, we lost Gaza Strip. We lost all the biblical cities that I told you, like Shechem is Nablus here, like Shiloh, like Bethel, like Jerusalem here, Bethlehem, Hebron, everything was lost here. And this area was split into 3 zones. Area A, full Palestinian control. Area B, Israeli military control. Area C, full Israeli control. That means that here, no police, nothing. And this is the city that I showed you on the picture from our village, the city of Yatta. This is the full of Arabs, you don't even go there. Area B, Palestinians live there, but it's under Israeli military control. And area C, we are full control. So you see, this is the brown here, the Palestinian localities, you know, all in brown, dark brown. You have area A that is full Palestinian control. Area here, all the dark brown, the light brown that are area B, okay, so it's Palestinian, but the military can enter and have operation. And we are the little blue one here, lost in some puzzle that you wonder who is the clever one who decided to make that thing to become one state. Impossible unless we are expelled. The blue one would be expelled, which was the plan originally. And the thing is that with the road going down, the road is in area C, you know, so this is the road going to Jerusalem. Some of them have been already traveling on this road. So this is area C, but on each side, what is the reality on the field? It's that. It's written just on the side here. I mean, talking a few meters from here, a few meters from here. This road leads to Palestinian village. The entrance for Israeli citizens is dangerous. Okay, another one. This road leads to area A, full Palestinian authority. Under the Palestinian Authority, the entrance for Israeli citizens is forbidden, dangerous to your lives, and is against the Israeli law. So the question you would say, wait a minute, if it's dangerous, do something. No, just the situation. That's the reality. You go to work, you go to Jerusalem, you cross on Road 60, the Patriarchs Road, and on each side of the road, you have all those Arabs and red panels that you want to make sure not to get inside, otherwise you could be lynched. So that's the reality of the Oslo agreements, you know, meaning that they shared the biblical heartland amongst the Palestinians, with the plan to expel all the Jews from there. So for this, they created a special unit army. But this is one of our son, this is another son. You know, they're doing 3 years of their service, military service, and they are commandos, and they are trained to fight at night into the Arab villages, and so. And this is really ongoing, and each night we can sleep safely because all those young people are just putting their lives to. That's the situation of this place. So now we need to understand, why do we need to keep Judea Samaria, okay? Which is very, very important, because if you look at the distances, you see, you have some distances. This is the Jordan Valley, Sea of Galilee, the Dead Sea. Jordan is across, okay? And then, just excuse me, just 1 second. Okay, excuse me. And then if you can see, you have the distances. This is in kilometers. You see, from here to Ben Gurion Airport, we only have 55 kilometers. From Samaria to the shore, we have 15 kilometers, which is nothing. So if we would agree to the claim of today to give back Judea Samaria and this area from the Dead Sea, because the Jordan invaded it for 19 years, it means that even our planes wouldn't be able to fight back if there was missiles being shot at us. They wouldn't even have the space to turn back, and it would endanger all the Jews that are now living in what we call here the center of the country, because this is the Merkaz, the center where most of the Jews live today. Tel Aviv, you see Netanya, Hadera, all this is the area where today most of the Jews of the country live. So it is impossible, and it's not possible to be able to give to the Arabs a Palestinian state in the Judean hills. Okay, you see? Hebron, this is Susia here. This is Aramasa is right here, the green line. And this is Beersheba. So Abraham, Jacob, Isaac would go this way, all the way up to Hebron, to Ephrat, Bethlehem, Jerusalem, Bethel, Shiloh, Shechem with Joseph. You understand that it's impossible to give anything like this. So now let's read something about the Bible. What is the Bible telling us? When you read in Ezekiel, this is really the text that is really relating to it. It says, "And you, son of Adam, prophesy to the mountain of Israel." What is the mountain of Israel? Judea Samaria. "And say, O mountains of Israel, receive the word of the Lord. Thus say the Lord God, because the enemy said concerning you, what joy, the ancient hates have become our inheritance." Look how accurate it is. "Therefore, thus say the Lord God, I swear that the nations round about who have despoiled you will surely suffer their humiliation. But you, O mountain of Israel, you produce will abound, and you will bear your fruit, for my people Israel, for my redemption will soon come." And 67 was a taste of the redemption, different steps. "For behold, I will reveal myself to you, and I will turn back to bring about good for you, and you will be tilled and sown." And this is what's happening. You have some big ministry, Christian ministry, that are going to, like Ayovel, are going to Samaria, and they have to prune the vines and to harvest the grape. "For behold, and upon you I will multiply people." We have over 300,000 Jews living there now. "All the house of Israel," meaning both Judah and both Israel and both Ephraim. We need to have the tribes coming back here. This is written bright black and white. "All of them, and the cities shall be inhabited, and the ruins rebuilt." The ruins because people were living there, as we saw archaeologically. "I will increase man and beast upon you, and they will multiply and increase. I will settle you as in former times, and I will do good to you just like long ago, and you will know that I am the Lord. I will multiply people upon you, my people Israel. They will possess you, and you will become a possession to them, and no longer will you bereave them." So it means that there's this promise that the hills are going to be populated again. And when the Rav Kook saw that the Jews were coming back and plowing the land, he said, the end of the galut, of the exile, is coming. Come back home. It's time to come back home. And these bring us back to a text in the Brit Hadashah, in the New Testament, when Yeshua is meeting this Shomron called Shechem, where Yosef, there's still the tomb of Yosef there, and you can go each month. There are people taking buses and going to pray over the tomb with the army, because they are being attacked by all the Palestinians, but nevertheless. And near the field Jacob has given to his son Yosef. Here we are. And she's telling him, you are not greater than our father Jacob, are you? He gave us this well and drank from it, and so this his son is cattle. So Yeshua tells her, and he says, you have had 5 husbands in the past, and you're not married to the man you're living with now. You're speaking the truth. So he's now addressing a woman that is a Shomronite, that in fact this woman is claiming to have the Torah, to have the temple, and to have the right to live there. But he's telling her, no, you are not. You don't have the right to do, because the woman is somebody who was brought by. And we go back to the text in 2 Kings 17:6. It says, in the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Ashur, the Assyrians, captured Shomron because of the sins of Jeroboam. And he carried Israel away captive to Ashur, to Assyria, near Babylon. Resettled them in Halach, Chavor, and the Gozan River, and the cities of the Medes, far east. And the king of Ashur brought people from Babel, Kuta, Ava, Hamad, and Tzvaraim, and settled them in the cities of Shomron in place of the people of Israel. They took possession of Shomron and live in its city. So what did they do? They did the same. What happened? the Assyrians they used to do this. They used to transplant population. So like this, they were totally uprooted, and it would take centuries for them or years for them to start to rebel against the king. And this is what happened. And Yeshua is telling this woman, you are not from me. You have had many gods. He's playing on the play of words about Baal, which is husband, but it's also the name of an idols. You have had many idols, but you are not one of us. You are not part of the heirs of the land. So there was already people like this woman and others being there, the Samaritans, and claiming the land, which are still today. You can visit their Kohen, their great priest was an ancient Torah scroll, which doesn't exactly fit the one that we have. And he's claiming that they are the real Israelites, but they're not. They're more Arabs than Jews, by the way, anyway, So we have the text in 2 Kings 7:17 that it says that those people, they didn't know how to serve God. So they started to mix everything, to mix a mixture between the God of Israel and their own gods. And then the king of Assyria tells them, take back one of the Kohanim you brought from there. Have him go and live there and have him teach the rules for worshiping the God of the land. And this is how this kind of people pretending, and they just kind of mixture of everything, living in the biblical heartland of Israel and claiming that they are still the heirs of the place, but they were even brought them. They came from Kuta, and we still call them Kutim, so, but of course they don't like it. So, and Yeshua is going all the way there because he wants also her to come in, but he's putting her back into place. You don't belong here. This is not your land. This is Joseph's land here. But Joseph is bringing back Ephraim also. So there's all kind of story that you want to iterate. It's very, but in any case, those people, they continue to follow their former pagan customs. They do not fear Hashem. They do not follow the regulation, rulings, Torah or mitzvah, which Hashem ordered the descendants of Jacob, to whom he gave the name Israel. Israel and Samaria and Judea, it belongs to Israel. It's only one. It's not another gods. And this also leads us into very different teaching, that when Ephraim went into the nation and got, idols in the Christian words too. So they're coming back, but they need to leave their idols because it becomes mainly to Jacob, the God of Jacob. So all the story of this, even when there was the rebuilding of the first temple with Ezra and Nehemiah, it was the Samaritans who prevented the rebuilding of the temple. So the Samaritans have had this big history, but what we want to know is that, we want to understand is that it's the same parallel. Today they're pretending that there are some people, the Palestinians pretend that they own the land, but they don't own the land. Only the sons of Israel own the land, as the Bible tells us, okay? So now let's confirm it. So we have in front of us on the screen, we have the name of Yeshua in Hebrew, Yeshua. This is Ayin that I put in yellow here, Yeshua. And Yeshua is not called by the Jews who rejected him today as his full name, Yeshua, but they call him Yeshu. They removed this Ayin letter with the vowel A that makes A, and they call him Yeshu, okay? So what is very interesting is that the regional council of Judea Samaria was called, before the Oslo Agreements, Yesha Regional Council. This is the logo of it, Yud Shin Ayin, Yesha. And what does it mean? It meant at the time, like Yehuda, Judah, Shin come Samaria, Shomron, and Ayin like Aza, we say in Hebrew. We don't say Gaza, we say Aza. But normally, you see, we have three letters that are the acronyms. Here they are also. But in a grammatically correct form, you would read Yehuda, and this is what they write right here in Hebrew, Yehuda, Judah, Samaria, and Gaza stripe, okay? But for some reason, the and here, this is and, it's a letter Vav. If you put the letter Vav, you see this is regional council, Yesha. Here, normally, there should be this letter here that is the and. But they don't write it. Why didn't they write it? Grammatically, it's not correct. Yesha should be Judah, Samaria, means Judah, Samaria, Gaza, but normally you should say Judah, Samaria, and Gaza, okay? But they didn't want to add this and, which is the Hebrew letter Vav. Because if you write with the Hebrew letter Vav, it gives Yeshua, the name of Jesus in Hebrew. So they didn't want it, so they removed it. Like in Susia, it's the same thing. So they removed this Vav, and then grammatically, they made an acronym of it. Normally, you should write Judea, Samaria, and Gaza. And Judea, Samaria, and Gaza spell the name Yeshua. Yehuda, Shomran, Gaza. Yeshua. They didn't want it, you know. So after, when we lost Gaza, with the Oslo Agreement, they had to change the name because they couldn't say Judah, Samaria, Gaza. There was no more Gaza belonging to this regional council. So it became Yosh, meaning Judah, Yehuda, and that time they said and Shomron because it didn't imply the name of Yeshua. So it became Yehuda ve-Shomron. Yehuda u-Shomron, ve-Shomron, Yosh, it spells in English. So this become, now grammatically it's okay because you can say Judah and Samaria, but still we don't have the ayin of Gaza, okay? But nevertheless, if you spell Yosh, the new name without Gaza, is the same letter than Yeshu, which is the name that they call Yeshua. So Judea, Samaria, and Gaza is the name Yeshua, and now Judah and Shomron is Yeshu. Okay, we don't have anymore this letter from Gaza, and Yeshu is the name that we call him today. But there's something missing. The ayin of the full name of Yeshua is missing, right? So we understand that Yosh is the same. Yosh is the new name for the regional council, without Gaza is the same name than Yeshu. We have Ye, Ve-Shomron, and Samaria. We lost the ayin that would spell the name of Jesus in full. Now it's only those three letters. This is how the Jews call him. So what happened? What is about this letter ayin? The numerical value of ayin is 70. So what is 70? You read Genesis 10 and you have 17 nations. The ayin left for the nations. Part of the name of Yeshua went to fetch and to bring back Ephraim to the nation. This is what today is called Yeshua. But Yeshua, a part of the name of Yeshua belongs to the nation that believe in him, which is Ephraim. And what does the Talmud tells us? He says that when the temple was destroyed and the Jews were expelled, the Shekhinah left in exile. And if you read the parasha Nitzavim, which is in the book of Deuteronomy, it says that he will come back with his people to the land. The Shekhinah is going to come back with his people to the land. Yeshua is going to bring back his people to the land. The Shekhinah left to exile with the children of Israel, but it's coming back. And who is coming back on Judea Samaria? Ephraim, who are working the vines in Samaria. Ephraim, who is bringing back all these evangelical people who are starting to say, we are Israel, we want to come back. We have part of the full name and we want to come back. And Judea and the Messiah again, Yeshu, whatever you turn it, whatever they wanted to remove part of his name, but Yeshu means, what do they mean by Yeshu, the Jews? I mean, Yimach Shmo, may his name be blotted off the surface of the earth. But even if they want to blot his name out, look what the hidden message is behind. And some of the rabbis, I know about it. When you have, may his name be blotted off the surface of the earth, this is Yimach Shmo. And if you take the letter of it, one more time, it makes Mashiach, Messiah. So would it be Yosh, or Yesha, or Yeshu, or Yeshua? In any case, Judea Samaria and everything belongs to the name of Yeshua, the full name. That part of it is being kept by Ephraim. And remember, we read in Ezekiel that he will bring back all Israel back, and he will settle them everywhere, and they will sow and they will plant and they will rejoice together. Because God has decided to put everybody in the same basket. And he said in Romans, just as you yourself were disobedient to God before, but have received mercy now because of Israel's disobedience, so Judah, so also Israel has been disobedient now, so that by you showing them the same mercy that God has shown you, they too may now receive God's mercy. For God has shut up all mankind together in disobedience, in order that he might show mercy to all the depth of the riches and the wisdom and knowledge of God. And it ends by the chokhmah and the da'at of God, which is the sfirot of the tree of life. So Yeshua has been sent to the nation. Judah didn't want it. They cut his name. But we need now Ephraim to bring back the ayin of Yeshua. And then everybody, all Israel will be made whole again, recognize him, and his name will be restored everywhere. And in the biblical hills of Judea, Samaria, and Gaza, Yeshua, and Ephraim and Judah together, like in Ezekiel 37, which is the chapter following Ezekiel 36, and then the Davidic kingdom will be restored. Like we can read in Amos 9:11, when the day comes, I will raise up the fallen Sukkot David, I will close up its gaps, raise up its ruins, and rebuild it as it used to be. And we have this huge privilege to live in those times where the restoration has happened. Beginning of the century, Jews are coming back and sow the land and plow the land. This is the end of the Galut. Then we have the different wars bringing up the sovereignty. Then after we have President Trump, who is the first president of the nations, of the biggest reservoir of Ephraim souls, that has been declaring the Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And the Golan is back. So he has been fulfilling prophecies. And there was this coin that was mint. So look at this. We have Cyrus, who allowed the Jews to come back after the exile of Babylon to rebuild the temple. The Balfour Declaration, who said now it's time for the Jews to have a national home. The Trump Declaration, 2017, and the temple is about to be rebuilt when all the children will be gathered together under the name of Yeshua. And there will be more houses and vines and everything. And we have the great privilege to be part of this because our family is just having now few lands in this little village located in the Judean hills on the Patriarch roads and on the King's Way, and then the Patriarchs are going all the way to Jerusalem to welcome our King, one of hopefully very soon day. So that was the story about the Judea Samaria, very, very, very deep and prophetic name, prophetic area. And I encourage you one more time to watch the other movie on Susia that is on the biblical archaeology course. And the rest is coming on Hebron with it also. And slowly, slowly, we are building our library about the Davidic kingdom. Shalom, everybody, and hope you enjoyed it. See you next time for the next adventure. Shalom.